provide 20 housing units per year. And the annual goal would be 20 units, 20 housing units per year. The activity, provide housing. Performance measure, the number of things provided. The target is the actual number. All right, do y'all see this? Let's do it again. Transportation for elderly in rural areas. The activity might be provide transportation for elderly in rural areas. The performance measure might be the number of miles of transportation provided. The annual target might be 20,000 miles per year. Let me do another one. Credit restoration is not typically a grant-funded program. However, financial counseling and financial education is. If you're in the credit repair space, in the grant world, you will want to call it financial education, financial literacy, or credit education. All right. Let's look at urban gardening and survivalist training. All right. And so one example, a proposed activity might be build gardens inside the city. A performance measure would be the number of gardens built. And the annual target would be you actually typing in the number of gardens. So for performance measure, you're going to use the number sign, the number of such and such provided. But in the target, you're going to actually write in the number. If you're doing home restoration, then the proposed activity would be restore homes in the city. Performance measure would be the number of homes restored. The annual target would be 10 homes restored per year. All right. If you're looking at, let me grab one more. Prison reformation, that's too general. You want to actually say what you're doing. Are you going to increase? Matter of fact, I'll use prison restoration. You want to be more specific. For example, it might be decrease the prison population in my county. The performance measure would be the number of bed days. All right, the number of days that somebody is in prison. And the annual target might be decrease it by 15%. Okay, do y'all understand? All right, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in. How much time do we have to use the money? That will always be discussed inside of the grant application. Inside of the grant contract. Some grants are 1-year grants. Some grants are 3-year grants. The grant that I reported on this morning was a 3-month grant. So the grant, they will always tell you inside the contract how long you have to spend the money. All right, do I offer that service? Which service is it? Go ahead and type which one you're talking about. But probably I do, because I offer every service. All right. How many times do you have to use the money? That's based on the contract. Do you have to meet the annual target on your contract? You need to do your best to meet the annual target on your contract, but sometimes you might not meet the target. If it looks like you're not meeting the target, you need to let them know kind of halfway through that it's going different than what you expected. It looks like you might not be able to meet the target. You're not going to get in trouble for it. They're not going to yell at you or scream at you. They're going to talk with you and allow you to redo your contract or to course correct or to change something. The worst scenario at the end of it is that they say, give me back some of the money that you did not use. They don't really want your money back. That's just one of the technicalities. So you want to make sure you're communicating along the way regarding your contract so that there are no surprises. There have been times that I did not reach the goal. They did not ask for the money back. What they did do was ask for an explanation. All right. How do you track where grant money is going? You typically track it in an accounting software like QuickBooks, and each time an expense comes through, you attach or you tag that expense to the thing. You tag that expense to that funding source so that you're able to provide the report at the end of the year. And of course, you can go over all of that with your tax professional. All right. Okay. Now, this grant was $70,000. They're inviting me to contract, etc. Let's go back to the whiteboard. All right. All right. Let me know when you all can see my screen. All right, let me know that you all can see. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay, so the grant announcement says that the grant is available. The proposal is what you write in order to get the grant. That's your application. They consider a proposal. The grant award is when they tell you that you got the grant, and then you have the grant contract. All right. Now, let me show you a grant contract. All right, let's see. All right. All right, let me share. All right. So this grant, we just finished this grant in 2022. This was awarded, it was $50,000. All right. So this is your grant agreement or grant contract. You see, they have all of their legalese. This has been prepared by their lawyers, and it is a legally binding contract. All right. These are the conditions of the award. They always say any material changes must be approved. Any change requires prior written approval. The grantee, that's me, agrees to report any considered changes. All right. NCIDEA reserve the right to audit the grantee within 3 years of the end date. So you keep your records for 3 years. NCIDEA reserve the right to withhold or suspend payment if it looks like you're not going to comply with the terms. You acknowledge that this is designed to create a cohort working together. Innovative transportational things will strengthen our entrepreneurship. This is their mission. Okay. So you're agreeing that you're going to do things and in partnership with them because they've given you the money. All right. The grantee will remain all rights, including intellectual property. So they don't want my work product. All right. They don't want my intellectual property. They're not going to steal your ideas. And sometimes people get nervous like, man, what if I give them an idea and they take it? They do not want your idea. They actually get paid to give away money. And I know that sounds weird, but that's exactly what it is. They get paid to give away money, but they get paid to give it away in a very specific fashion. You agree to maintain full, accurate, and verifiable records, supporting documentation, all pertinent data. If you're not this type of organization and you maintain a separate account, these are their requirements, okay? Now, governing law. Do you see that this is a contract? Now, at the end of the contract, and all that was standard, at the end of the contract, they normally have an appendix, and this came directly from my proposal. They said, this is what we're going to do, who we're going to serve, what areas, what neighborhoods, what programs. This Black Wall Street Junior program, actually, they funded part of that, and then we continued it with others. All right. Key responsibilities. This is an actual contract. This is a very real budget. And this line item allowed me to pay for vending space when Black businesses wanted to go to vend like at a festival. I was able to pay for vending space with that. State incorporation, we paid for incorporation for 20 businesses. We paid an education coordinator for people to teach, vending coordinator for somebody to find vending opportunities, to purchase a laptop computer, to buy Salesforce, purchase Thinkific, to do marketing was $10,000. Purchase this software called Kumo with $840. Business education and development was $5,800. This is what I said I would spend the money on. And then it says my payment schedule. They're going to send me $25,000 on this day, $25,000 on that day. This all together is the contract. All right. And my reports are due on this day and this day. All right. Then my compliance milestones and metrics. This is where I said what I'm going to do. 30 businesses will be enrolled, 15 by May, 15 by December. 20 companies will secure state incorporation, 10 by May, 10 by December. 20 companies will increase revenue by 50%, 10 by May, 10 by December. All right. 2 living wage jobs will be created, 1 by May, 1 by December. These are my deliverables. Now, let me explain this. You have, this is your grant contract. All right. Oh, and then is the financial stuff. Y'all need to see that. So, all right. All right. Take a look. Yeah, you can repeat that. Grant compliance is the subject tonight. The grant announcement, the grant proposal, the grant award, the grant contract, and the grant report. Yes, absolutely correct. That is the order in which it goes. Should I maintain separate accounts for all grants? No, but you should maintain separate accounts if the grant requires it. NCID requires it. And if the grant is more than $100,000, you should. All right. The federal government requires that it be separate. This organization requires also that it be separate. All right. There was a tornado in December last year in my community. Can my for-profit company ask for a grant to restore, build, purchase 25 homes in the city affected by the tornado, provide 6 months of financial education, counseling victims, provide 3 months of hotel, Airbnb, shelter for families with other for-profit company being vendor of financial education and counseling? So the answer is yes for part of it and no for other parts of it. Yes, your agency, your for-profit company can ask for a grant in order to restore and rebuild and purchase 25 homes. You would do that through your local city or your county home funds. In order to access home funds, you need to contact the Community and Economic Development Office. That's where you get money to restore, build, or purchase homes. All right. You get it from home funds in your Community and Economic Development Office. And your for-profit agency can get grants to do that activity. The other things that you're talking about are considered a public service. They're considered program things that are typically not grants that a for-profit would get, but are absolutely grants that a nonprofit would get. All right. So let's go to the whiteboard so I can explain something to you. And then I think that'll be it for tonight. All right. Grant announcement is when they tell you that the money is available. Grant proposal is when you apply for the money. Grant award is when they tell you you got the money. Grant contract is a contract for how you will use the money. All right. And the grant report, I'll go over that in a second. But let me explain this this difference to you. All right. So you have the All right. Can you all see my screen? If you can see it, type 1. If you can see it, type 1. If you can see it, type 1. Type 1, type 1, type 1, type 1, type 1. Where do they do the announcement? The announcement is announced from their sources. And this is why, like, for those, like, people just try to do it on their own, and that's fine, but you're going to take up a lot of time. You need to be on all of their newsletters, all their websites, so that they can know that you want to know when they announce the grant. You have to let them know to tell you. All right. You have to let them know that you want to know. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to tell them, hey, I want to know when you put out a grant. And in order to do that, you have to get on their list. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Now, if you need to know how to search and find, you can, of course, I teach a class on how to search and find grants at shophackett.com. All right. Let's look at this difference right here. You have all right, you have contract management. And you have program management. All right. So you have contract management and program management. Whenever you go to contract, once you pay close attention, all right, your program is your dream, is everything. It's the total picture. The big kahuna. All right. However, contract management all right. All right. So your contract is different from your program. Your contract is different from your program, but you have to manage both. If I do an after-school program and I get a grant for food, the after-school program is my program. The food grant is my contract. So on the contract, I have to make sure that I fulfill the requirements of the contract. If the contract says I need to give out 100 pounds of food or feed 100 kids per month, then managing my contract means that I go back to that contract and I make sure that I'm dotting every I can check off every box, I'm crossing every T on that contract. All right. That's contract management. The contract is not the total picture. Your program is bigger than the contract. All right. Your program is bigger than a single grant contract. Your program might have 10 different grants. And if you have 10 different grants, how many contracts do you have? If you have 10 different grants, how many projects, how many contracts will you have? That's right. You have one contract for each grant. One contract for each grant. And all of those contracts together are inside the program, but one of those contracts is not the whole program. If you have an after-school program, you probably have a grant for the food, a grant for the tutors, a grant for the computers, a grant for the field trips, a grant for the books, a grant for the supplies. And each one of those grants has its own what? Each one of the grants has its own what? Type back to me, y'all. Each grant has its own what? There you go. There you go. That's right. That's right. Each grant has its own contract. That contract is the minimum. So what you all saw with the contract I showed you, y'all saw that I was going to enroll 20 Black-owned businesses. I know that I can definitely enroll 20 Black businesses, but in fact, we enrolled 74. Why do you think I chose the number 20 when I knew I would reach 70? That's right. It was manageable. It's what I know I can do. It's what I know I can do. I can fulfill the contract. Absolutely. I can outperform and over-deliver. You're right. It's better to achieve more. It's better outcomes. I wanted to make sure I didn't set myself up for failure. Absolutely. And there's something now, this is not a racial statement, but it is a race-based statement. I want you to make sure you understand the difference. This is not a racist statement. I'm not holding anything against anybody or knocking anybody or holding any resources back. That's what racism is. That's racist, to withhold resources from a particular group because of their race. But this is a racial statement. Oftentimes, people that have been marginalized in this discussion, Black folks, will become accustomed to making $1 out of 15 cents. And because you're so accustomed of making $1 stretch, you'll have a poverty mindset and a hustle mentality thinking that that's productivity. That's not productivity. You're overworking yourself and underpaying yourself because you have a poverty mindset, probably an imposter syndrome, and you don't know what you're worth, and you're afraid to stand up and charge what you're really worth. Now, I don't mean any offense, but I do intend for it to provoke you. You do not have to do more with less. I asked them for $185,000 in order to serve 50 people. They came back to me and they said, "We like your proposal. What can you do with 70,000?" I am not going to try to stretch myself to serve 50 people when they only gave me half the money. If they only gave me half the money, how much of the outcomes do you think I'm going to offer? If they gave me half the money, I'm going to offer half the outcomes. If they gave me a third of the money, I'm going to give them a third of the outcomes. Now, this is the kicker, y'all. Most of the times, Black folks in service, in work, and employment, and especially Black women, are overworked, undervalued, and underpaid. And to make matters worse, they get stressed out and don't say nothing about it until it's too late, until they snap it on somebody, until they busting windows out of cars, until they slashing tires and cussing people out on the megaphone in the Walmart. Okay? Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself, y'all. And then we are the ones that have the least amount of money and the most amount of responsibility. We are the ones that stressing ourselves out, and you're not just wearing the wig because it's cute. You're wearing the wig because the work done stress your edges out. I'm gonna stop. Granny T, y'all cut it out. Oh, Jesus. Lord, Derek L. Somebody. Okay. Y'all don't tell on me. Don't tell on me. Don't tell them. Don't tell. Jesus, I don't went too far. But really, and then you end up snapping at your kids because you don't work super hard all day long, whether in your business or somebody else's, when the reality is you should have charged them folks. I wanted to say something else. You should have charged them appropriately. You knew they was you knew they was going to overwork you. You knew it. You knew they was going to overwork and underpay you from the time you met them. Y'all know I've been to prison, but I don't know if I told y'all the story about how this employee got into my company. I felt that I should not hire him, and I hired him anyway. I went against my gut. I went against my discernment, and I hired a jackleg, bootleg fraudster in my company. And I look back and I remember I told him I don't need to hire him. I told myself I don't need to hire him. And I said, you can't work for me. And I allowed him to convince me. Y'all, I'm telling you, your peace of mind is priceless. If there are customers that are getting on your nerves and you have tried to serve them, you need to let the door hit them where the good Lord split them, turn them loose, get rid of them, save your time, save your energy, trust your gut, only work with the people that are willing to value and work with you, and move on. And then you go home and end up snapping at your kids and smacking your son upside the head. He like, dog, mama, what I do? I just wanted some more macaroni and cheese. Y'all get what I'm saying? And you do not. Now let's stick with this. What we end up doing is saying, it's all right, master. I can do it. You ain't got to pay me no more. I can do it. And then while I'm at it, we end up coming, and y'all, I probably shouldn't say it to y'all because y'all the ones that are here, but maybe y'all know the ones that act crazy and do this canceling memberships and chargeback and stuff like that. The reason that they can't afford the thing that they want is not because they don't have the money, it's because they wasted it, or because they did not take Coach Derek's advice when he told them how to pick their customers and choose them ahead of time. They end up doing a whole bunch of extra work for customers that don't pay them, so they end up putting money out, not bringing money in, and then cutting off their learning and growth because now they can't afford it. Is it really that you couldn't afford it, or is it that you did not charge your customers, them people that's on your phone, on your timeline, wasting your time, wasting your energy? I'm not even talking about when people chase the cricket coaches, as we call them, the dancing bears. I'm talking about when you just open yourself up to be nice, and nice done got you broke. I'm not talking about serving when you're called to serve, giving when you're called to give, doing what God or the Holy Spirit puts on your heart to do. I'm talking about when you just trying to save face and fit in. You better cut that out. You can provide service and you can provide an invoice. And if you provided the invoice, you'll be able to afford to do what you plan to do. I didn't come to say all that. We're talking about contract management and program management. And y'all better not get me in trouble. All right. The fact that you can make a dollar stretch does not mean that you always need to. Okay. If you're going to operate a business, you need to charge enough so that you can pay yourself, your staff, keep your lights on, pay for your gas, your softwares, your education, your products. Okay. You need to charge enough to do that. That's not price gouging. That's charging standard price. And some of us have such a slave mentality that we've taken that into our businesses. Tell the truth, y'all. If you charge what you were worth, you could afford the next thing in your life, couldn't you? Tell the truth. You put your heart into this. You care about the people. You do good work. You're investing in yourself. You're doing continuing education, continuing to learn. Don't undercut yourself just to fit in. I want you all to make a decision tonight. I'm not talking about price gouging. I'm saying do real business as a real business person, not as a bootlegger, not as an imposter, not as a hustler. Do business like business is supposed to be done. You have your bottom line financial requirement and you cut it up into how many customers you need to get that month, and then you charge based on that. Nobody's going to give you permission to set your prices. You have to give yourself permission. Okay? If you're willing to do excellent work, you should at least be able to charge market rate. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Now, when we come over into the nonprofit world as it regards grants, what you want to do is manage your contract like a boss with wisdom. I know that I can enroll more than 20 businesses, but I also know that they only held the white folks accountable for 20 businesses. So if it works for them, you can finish that sentence. If it works for them, finish the sentence. If it works for them, it'll work for me. That's right. You charge more, lost 200 clients, but still made more. That's right. And if you don't know how many to promise, I'm going to tell you a secret. Do y'all want to know the secret? Say yes. You can actually ask them. When they say, how many are you going to serve? You can just ask them, how many did the program last year serve? That's right. That's right. You ain't got to make it up. You ain't got to make it up. They say, how many houses you going to build with $100,000? You say, how much did they give the last people per house? Send them a nice old email and ask them. Now, last year, this company that gave me the 70,000, last year they gave me 40, and this year they gave me 70. So I'm going to double the numbers from last year to this year. And that grant is different than the one that you just saw. All right. Contract management is the minimum. You must achieve it. You want to knock it out the park. Specific to the funded program is only about what they are funding. But your program is your big dream. It's the everything. It's the total picture and the big kahuna. All right. Which brings me back to our main screen, and we're done. This is the grant report. The grant report is where you give your outcomes. All right. Are y'all ready for me to show you my grant report? Y'all want me to show you the grant report? All right. No, that's the wrong one. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Well, I'll show you this one. You can see it. Where is that? That's a shame. You ever wanted something specific and couldn't find it? But I'm gonna find it. All right, let me show this to you. All right. Right, here we go. All right. So here is the final report. I give them an outline of what we did. Grant compliance. We tell them, you asked for 20, we did 20. You see this? I'm telling them what we did. Now look at this. What do you notice about this? What stands out to you about this? I have the target and the outcomes. The target is based on my contract. The outcomes are based on my whole program. What do you see? What do you notice? What stands out to you? That's right. I exceeded the target, over deliver. I exceeded the target. And so when I did this in the first year and I go back to them the next year, what do you think I'm gonna say to them? Since you gave me money last year and I reached my goal, if you give me money this year, I'll reach it again. Now, this grant happened to be $50,000 and I was awarded both years. This is where they ask for the use of funds and I show them this is how I use the funds. I also show them that I leverage additional funds. Show them the impact. And they ask for me to show them my needs. That's the grant report. All right. Now, all right. So let me get any final. Yeah. If you're faithful over a few things, make you rule over many. All right. Let's take a look at the questions. How do we know where to go to apply for a grant? You need to get the class how to search and find grants, but you can find them anywhere and everywhere. All right. Coach, has a date been established for the software guidance? Oh Lord, yes. We did that on Saturday. We did it for 2.5 hours. Oh Lord. Y'all, I be emailing and posting. But yes, Natasha, we did the software training on Saturday. All right. And I think Coach Derek is working on a discount for y'all to be able to get my software for all the Inner Circle members. So he's working on that. Yes, there is a replay. Just DM me. Can we revisit? I revisited that already. All right, and I think that is all of the questions. All right. Were there any other questions before I go? All right. Well, thank you all. Love y'all. Who do we turn it back over to? Yeah, I need that.
Hi, sir. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to discuss grant compliance with us. And guys, let's not forget to give Coach Hackett a review. And have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the webinar.
All right. Thank y'all.
All
Y'all take care.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
The recording has stopped.